Welcome, deep divers. Have you ever paused to consider how the seemingly most insignificant actions in your day could actually be laying the groundwork for monumental changes?
You know, those tiny habits that maybe don't feel like much at the time.
Exactly. Changes not just in your own life, but potentially far beyond. Well, today we're embarking on a deep dive into a truly fascinating set of life lessons.
And these aren't your typical boredom strategies, are they?
Not at all. These aren't pulled from a self-help retreat either. They're distilled from one of the most intense, demanding environments imaginable, Navy SEAL training.
Right. We're drawing our insights directly from Admiral William H. McRaven's incredibly impactful book, Make Your Bed.
Which, as many of you probably know, originated from his now legendary University of Texas commencement speech.
That speech really resonated with so many people.
It really did. So our mission today is to unpack these 10 deceptively simple yet utterly profound principles.
We want to understand their universal appeal, why they connect so broadly.
And most importantly, explore how you can integrate them into your daily life, regardless of your background or the challenges you're facing.
Because they really do apply to everyone.
From conquering a simple morning task to literally staring down sharks in the ocean, these stories promise to be both surprising and, I think, deeply insightful.
What's truly fascinating here, I find, is observing how lessons forged in the absolute crucible of military combat training
Yeah, the most extreme environment.
translates so directly, so elegantly to the everyday challenges and triumphs we all encounter.
It's kind of a paradox, isn't it?
It really is. And Admiral McRaven's own journey is a testament to this. We're talking 37 years as a Navy SEAL,
Incredible career.
culminating in his role as a four-star admiral commanding U.S. Special Operations Forces and now serving as Chancellor of the University of Texas System.
So a life defined by war, by extreme situations.
Exactly. And yet his wisdom speaks to the core of the human spirit in all of us, irrespective of our chosen path.
That really hits home.
So this raises an important question for you, our listener. What kind of mindset does it take to not just survive, but truly thrive in those extreme moments? And maybe more importantly, how can we cultivate that same resilience, that same unwavering drive in our own lives?
Right, because we all face our own versions of extreme moments.
They do. And as we'll discover, the answer often begins with the smallest, most unassuming acts.
All right, let's unpack this foundational idea from Admiral McRaven's philosophy. He posits, quite strongly, that if you want to change the world, you should start off by making your bed.
Yeah, that's the title, right? Make your bed.
It is. Now, for many of us, that might sound, well, almost comically simple, maybe even a bit trivial.
I think a lot of people react that way initially, like, really? Making my bed?
How can something as routine as, mundane as tucking in a blanket actually be the first step toward changing anything of consequence, let alone the entire world?
It's a fair question. It does catch you off guard, doesn't it? Sounds almost trivial. But the Admiral makes a profoundly compelling case that this isn't merely about tidiness, though that's part of it. It's really a foundational act of discipline.
Discipline, okay.
And it sets a critical precedent for your entire day. Think about the context. The Spartan barracks rooms at basic SEAL training in Coronado, California.
Not exactly luxury accommodation.
Far from it. These weren't designed for comfort, they were purely functional. We're talking about a steel bed frame, a single mattress, a bottom sheet, a top sheet,
Standard issue stuff.
and then a heavy gray wool blanket. That blanket had to be packed so tightly, with hospital corners so precise.
Hospital corners, I remember those.
You could practically bounce a coin off it. Then, a second blanket, folded into a perfect rectangle, sat at the foot.
Perfectly folded.
And a single pillow, remarkably, one made by the Lighthouse for the Blind, which is an interesting detail, was centered at the top, meeting the blanket at a precise 90-degree angle.
90 degrees, wow.
This wasn't a suggestion, it wasn't try your best, it was the absolute unyielding standard every single morning.
And I've heard stories about the almost legendary exacting standards they had, particularly around something as simple as bed making. Can you paint a picture for us of what those standards actually looked like and maybe one of those famous tests?
Oh, yeah, the infamous quarter test, absolutely. The instructor, usually with this stern, unreadable expression, would often pull out a quarter
Okay.
and, without a word, just flip it onto the perfectly taut mattress,
Onto the bed.
right onto the sheet and blanket. The expectation, the absolute standard, was that it would bounce high enough for the instructor to catch it easily.
Bounce high enough to catch, that's incredibly tight.
Insanely tight. And this wasn't an exercise for praise or, a gold star. It was simply expected. Meeting this standard was your first task of the day.
The very first thing.
And it was completed successfully. That small initial victory, however minor it seems, instills this quiet sense of pride.
Yeah, I can see that.
It provides a subtle internal prompt to tackle another task, and then another. By the end of the day, that one successfully completed small task will have cascaded into many tasks completed.
Like a domino effect.
Exactly. It powerfully reinforces the truth that the little things truly do matter. They set a tone for the entire day. Discipline, order, completion.
The idea of a quarter bouncing that high, I think my own attempts at bed making barely qualify as sheet folding. But seriously, that sets an almost impossible standard, yet it's about the expectation, isn't it?
It is. It's about setting a high bar from the moment you wake up.
And McRaven carries this lesson throughout his entire career, right? He has an anecdote about being on a submarine, the USS Grayback.
Yes, that's right. A special operations submarine. His bunk was stacked 4 high in sickbay, of all places.
Orion sickbay, cramped.
Very. And the old doctor there insisted, absolutely insisted, that all beds be made perfectly, even there.
Even the patient's beds? Or just the crew?
Everyone's. The doctor's sentiment was rooted in a very practical philosophy. If the beds weren't made, if the room wasn't kept meticulously clean and orderly, how could the sailors possibly expect the highest standard of medical care?
Okay. It reflects on the overall standard of care.
Precisely. This idea of maintaining absolute cleanliness and order, of taking responsibility for your immediate environment, it permeated every aspect of military life.
And he has a really personal story about this too, doesn't he? After his accident?
Yes, a very personal and poignant story. After 9/11, he suffered that severe parachute accident that left him gravely injured. A hospital bed was brought into his home for his recovery.
Must have been a tough recovery.
Extremely tough. But as soon as he was physically well enough to lift himself from it, the very first thing he did, laboriously, painstakingly, was pull the sheets up tight, adjust the pillow, and make that bed.
Wow. Even in that condition.
For him, it wasn't just physical therapy. It was a deeply symbolic act. It was like a quiet declaration that he was conquering the injury, that he was actively moving forward with his life, taking control back.
To hear that from someone who, as he says, felt invincible before that accident, especially after such a personal ordeal, it truly highlights the depth of that habit. It's almost a defiant act of self-reassertion, isn't it?
It really is. A way of saying, this won't beat me.
And the contrast he draws with a figure like Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
That's quite striking.
Yes, the contrast is stark and telling. When U.S. forces captured Saddam Hussein in 2003, he was held in confinement, sleeping on a basic army cot.
Right.
Admiral McRaven noted, with maybe a touch of dry amusement but also some insight, that Saddam never made his bed.
Never.
The covers were always crumpled, his immediate surroundings just in disarray. This might seem like a small, almost insignificant detail.
But it says something.
Exactly. When you consider the unwavering discipline, the order, the personal responsibility instilled in the American soldiers who captured him, it starkly illuminates a profound difference in character and mindset. Discipline versus chaos, even on that small scale.
So for you, our listener, the Admiral isn't just talking about tidiness, is he? He's revealing something much deeper.
Much deeper. He's revealing a fundamental truth. By consciously choosing to complete that first small task each day, you're not just organizing your space, you're building an unshakable foundation of personal agency for the day.
Agency, I like that.
You're creating a quiet yet powerful declaration that you are in control, that you can achieve something no matter what chaos or uncertainty might unfold around you later.
It's like setting your internal compass.
Precisely. It's a subtle but constant reminder that even on a miserable day, coming home to a bed you made provides a small, tangible encouragement, a little bit of order you created.
That tomorrow can be better.
Yes, it's that first ripple of positive momentum, created by you.
So we've talked about establishing that bedrock of personal discipline, that first ripple you create yourself. But Admiral McRaven then pivots, saying that even with that strong personal foundation, you simply can't build a world alone.
Right, the individual effort only goes so far.
His second core lesson is, if you want to change the world, find someone to help you paddle. This completely upends the familiar lone wolf myth we often associate with elite forces, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. That image of the solitary SEAL operative, It's powerful, but it's not the whole story.
What's the real story behind this necessity for a team then?
It highlights the undeniable, absolute necessity of teamwork, even maybe especially for elite forces like the SEALs. In basic SEAL training, they have a tool specifically designed to teach this vital lesson: the 10-foot rubber raft.
Ah, the IBS.
The IBS, or inflatable boat small. Yes, there were 7 men assigned to each boat crew, and they were expected to work in perfect, seamless synchronicity.
7 guys, 1 small boat.
And they carried that raft everywhere on their heads to the chow hall.
Their heads.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Up and down scorching sand dunes, and they paddled it endlessly, relentlessly, through the pounding surf just off Coronado Beach.
Sounds exhausting just thinking about it.
It was a constant, grueling exercise in collective, interdependent effort. You had to work together.
So it wasn't about being the strongest individual paddler. It was about everyone contributing, supporting, and literally carrying each other.
Exactly. It couldn't be about individual strength.
What happened if someone couldn't keep up? If someone was injured or just flagging?
That's where the lesson really sinks in. The small rubber boat taught them in the most visceral way possible that no single man could make it through training or later through the chaos of combat alone.
You had to rely on each other.
Absolutely. If one crew member was sick or injured, if they couldn't give 100% that day, the others instinctively picked up the slack, no questions asked.
They just did it.
They paddled harder, they dug deeper, they even shared their meager rations sometimes to give a struggling comrade extra strength. The unspoken, yet ironclad expectation was that you would, without hesitation, return that favor when they inevitably needed it, because everyone has bad days.
That reciprocity
Yeah.
is powerful.
Fundamental to their survival and success, and in the broader sense, it extends directly to life itself. You absolutely need people. You need your boat crew to help you navigate and endure difficult times.
McRaven brings this lesson home with a very personal story, doesn't he? Something that profoundly underscored this principle for him much later in his career, decades after SEAL training.
He does. A really harrowing one. Admiral McRaven recounts a truly devastating parachute accident he experienced 25 years later.
This was when he was already a senior officer.
Yes, he was a Navy captain commanding all the SEALs on the West Coast, a big job. He was on a routine C-130 jump from 12,000 feet.
High altitude.
Very. When another jumper deployed his chute below him at 5,500 feet, they collided. At a terrifying 120 miles per hour. McRaven spun out of control, barely conscious. His pilot chute wrapped around one leg, the main parachute partially deployed and twirled around his other leg.
Tangled up completely.
Completely. 2 risers, those long nylon straps, became tightly bound around his legs. When the main canopy finally caught air, the force was so immense
The deceleration.
that his pelvis separated instantly, pulled apart by almost 5 inches.
5 inches? That's unimaginable.
Muscles were torn from their hinges. He ultimately required a large titanium plate and a long scapular screw just to reconstruct his body.
That sounds absolutely horrific. An injury that could certainly feel like the end of everything. I can only imagine the physical and emotional toll.
It was catastrophic. He describes feeling invincible before this, that belief that his innate athletic abilities and his SEAL training would always see him through perilous situations, like nothing could touch him.
But this was different.
This time was different. Lying in that hospital bed, all he initially felt was self-pity, a crippling sense of helplessness. Who wouldn't?
Understandable.
But that profound despair didn't last long. And it wasn't just his own grit. It was thanks entirely to the incredible network of people around him, his boat crew.
His wife played a huge role, didn't she?
Georgian, yes. She not only took on extensive nursing duties, cleaning his wounds, giving him shots, changing his bedpan, all the tough stuff, but more importantly, she gave him tough love.
Tough love.
Refused to let him wallow. She constantly reminded him of who he was and what he was capable of, basically told him to snap out of it.
Sometimes you need that.
You do.
Yeah.
His friends called constantly, offered support, helped with whatever they could. And his boss at the time, Admiral Eric Olson,
Oh.
recognizing McRaven's potential and commitment, actually circumvented established Navy policy to save his career. He believed in McRaven's ability to serve again despite the severity of his injuries.
Wow, that's sticking your neck out.
Huge risk for Olson, but it showed immense faith.
That's a truly profound example of how your team, your extended support system, can literally save you in your darkest hour. It moves beyond just physical help to emotional and professional rescue.
It really is. The Admiral reflects that throughout his long career in the SEAL teams, he faced numerous setbacks, both personal and professional. And in each instance, someone came forward to help him.
Someone stepped up.
Someone who had faith in him, saw his potential when maybe he couldn't, or risked their own reputation for him. He never forgot those people.
You wouldn't.
Recognizing that anything he achieved, any success he attained, was fundamentally a result of others helping him along the way, his boat crew.
So for you, our listener, this connection is crystal clear. We all face moments of profound tragedy, moments where we feel broken or overwhelmed.
Absolutely nobody gets through life unscathed.
Who are the people in your life who pick up the slack when you can't give 100%? Who's in your boat crew?
And it works both ways, right? How can you be that person for someone else?
Yes. How can you actively cultivate and nurture those vital relationships, those crucial connections? Your success, much like a SEAL's, often depends not solely on your individual grit, but on the unwavering support, belief, and collective effort of others.
You truly cannot paddle the boat alone. And acknowledging that leaning on others isn't a weakness.
No, it's a profound strength. It takes courage to ask for help, too. Moving on to our next powerful lesson, one that truly resonates in a world often focused on outward appearances. We frequently make snap judgments about people or even about ourselves.
Oh, all the time. It's almost automatic.
Based on superficial metrics like height, physical build, perceived talent. Admiral McRaven's experiences in SEAL training truly challenge that notion. His core lesson here, if you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart.
That's absolutely right. SEAL training, despite its intense physical demands, operates as this profound equalizer.
How so?
It systematically strips away all those superficial metrics we so often rely on in the civilian world. Wealth, status, physical size, none of that matters in the surf or the mud.
Right.
The Admiral vividly describes a pre-swim scene from training. Students clad in green t-shirts, khaki swim trunks, neoprene booties, and a small life jacket.
A life jacket they didn't want to use.
Exactly. He notes it was considered shameful if you ever actually had to use it. The surf-off Coronado could be huge, a daunting 8 feet high that day, really intimidating.
8-foot waves.
Yeah, that's serious. And an instructor, this towering 6'2" decorated Vietnam veteran, confronted a seaman recruit who was barely 5'4", a stark physical mismatch.
I can almost picture the scene. The huge, imposing instructor, the small, almost diminutive recruit, the crashing, powerful waves. It sounds designed to intimidate.
Oh, it absolutely was. The instructor held the recruit's flippers, waving them dramatically in his face, taunting him.
What did he say?
Something like, "You're a tiny little man. Those waves out there could break you in half. You should think about quitting now before you get hurt." Just laying it on thick.
Wow. Trying to break him before he even started.
Exactly. But the recruit, instead of shrinking or looking away, met the instructor's gaze with pure defiance in his eyes and shouted back with unshakable conviction, "I won't quit."
Live for him.
The instructor then leaned in and whispered something only the recruit could hear. Later, that same recruit, who, against the odds, finished the arduous training near the head of the class.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah, thrived. He revealed the instructor's whispered challenge, "Prove me wrong."
Ah, so it was a test within a test.
Precisely. This powerful anecdote demonstrated, beyond any doubt, that determination, sheer grit, and unwavering willpower were always, always more important than raw talent or physical size. It was about the heart.
That's such a great story, truly encapsulating the spirit of resilience. But McRaven also admits to making similar snap judgments himself, perhaps showing that even the most experienced among us can fall into this trap.
He does, and it speaks volumes about his humility, I think. He recounts his own initial prejudgment as a young first-class midshipman visiting the SEAL training facility.
Before he was even a SEAL himself.
Right. He saw these massive, imposing instructors, the very embodiment of what he expected an elite SEAL to look like, fit the stereotype.
Sure.
Then he spotted a slightly built, almost frail civilian with a mop of dark hair. McRaven admits he thought to himself with a touch of youthful arrogance, did he really think he was tough enough? Could his small frame possibly carry a heavy rucksack and ammunition?
He doubted him based purely on his size.
Completely. He even felt a pang of sorrow, thinking someone might have mistakenly led this fella to believe he could endure the rigors of SEAL training, like he was being set up for failure.
And then the big reveal, which must have been quite the wake-up call for his preconceived notions.
Monumental is probably the word. The frail man, this quiet, reserved civilian, was none other than Lieutenant Tom Norris.
Tom Norris, the name sounds familiar.
Medal of Honor recipient from Vietnam.
Well,
a man who had gone deep behind enemy lines on successive nights to rescue 2 downed airmen. An incredibly dangerous mission.
Unbelievable courage.
The same Tom Norris, who, on another mission, was shot in the face by North Vietnamese forces and left for dead.
Shot in the face.
Yes, only to be rescued by Petty Officer Mike Thornton, who himself would later receive the Medal of Honor for those actions. Another layer of heroism.
That's incredible.
And Tom Norris then, despite his profound injuries, battled back with astonishing willpower to be accepted into the FBI's first hostage rescue team.
After all that.
After all that. This was a man of immense, almost unbelievable courage and indomitable will, completely belying his modest physical appearance.
What an incredible lesson in humility and a powerful reminder for all of us about the deceptive nature of outward appearances.
Absolutely. How often do we underestimate people?
Or, perhaps more importantly, ourselves,
Right.
based on superficial traits or conventional expectations.
Right. We limit ourselves sometimes.
This story reminds us to look beyond the surface. True strength, true capacity, true mettle comes not from physical stature, but from the size of your heart, from the fire in your spirit.
Well said. It's all about what's inside.
It's a powerful reminder to look deeper, isn't it? And speaking of facing challenges, our next lesson addresses something we all encounter, often daily. The harsh reality that life just isn't always fair.
Yes, the universe doesn't really care about fairness, does it?
It doesn't seem to. Admiral McRaven's advice here is concise and direct. If you want to change the world, get over being a sugar cookie and keep moving forward.
Being a sugar cookie, it sounds kind of pleasant, doesn't it? Like a treat.
Sounds like fun.
Oh.
But in SEAL training, it was anything but.
Far from it. Becoming a sugar cookie was a common and thoroughly unpleasant punishment, one of the most frustrating things a recruit could experience.
But what exactly did it entail?
It involved running fully clothed into the freezing surf off Coronado.
Fully clothed. Ugh.
Oh yeah, boots, fatigues, everything. Then immediately rolling in the sand until you were covered head to toe with wet sand, just caked in it.
Wet sand. That gets everywhere.
Everywhere. And then, the kicker, you stayed in that uniform, cold, wet, gritty, and incredibly uncomfortable for the rest of the day.
The entire day.
Wow.
While doing other training.
While doing everything else, runs, drills, everything. The core lesson here directly addresses that harsh, undeniable reality that life isn't always fair, and that dwelling on that unfairness is incredibly unproductive. It's debilitating, even.
And the really frustrating part, as you mentioned, was that it could be completely arbitrary. It wasn't necessarily tied to a clear infraction, which must have compounded the sense of injustice.
Exactly. That was the point, almost. This punishment was often indiscriminately applied without rhyme or reason.
Just because.
Just because an instructor felt like it, often simply to test patience and determination, to see who could handle the unfairness. This challenged recruits like few other things.
I can imagine. You do everything right and still
end up a sugar cookie. Many couldn't accept that their best efforts seemed to be in vain, that they were being punished unjustly, or that life simply wasn't playing by the rules they expected. They would quit because they simply couldn't get over that inherent unfairness, couldn't shake off the resentment.
They couldn't just drive on.
Right. They got stuck on the why me.
He has a great anecdote from one of his instructors about this, a line that has stuck with him.
Yes, the instructor, Lieutenant Philip L. Moki Martin, a legendary SEAL.
Moki Martin.
Moki asked McRaven one morning why he was a sugar cookie. McRaven responded dutifully, Instructor Martin, I honestly don't know.
And the instructor's reply.
Martin simply replied with this profound lack of sympathy, just blunt honesty. Because, Mr. Mack, life isn't fair, and the sooner you learn that, the better off you will be.
Wow, just like that. Brutal honesty.
That one blunt line, delivered in such a context, it encapsulates the entire harsh lesson. Stop whining, deal with it, move on.
But the story of Moki Martin himself is even more profound, isn't it? Because he faced incredible, unimaginable unfairness later in life, and yet lived this lesson to its absolute core.
He truly did. It's an incredible story of resilience. Years later, Moki Martin, who was a phenomenal athlete and an expert SEAL.
Top of his game.
Absolutely. He was involved in a tragic cycling accident, collided head-on with another bike at 25 miles per hour. Oh, terrible.
The crash left him paralyzed from the waist down, with only limited arm movement. And he lived with this for 35 years.
35 years.
Yeah.
That's profound, life-altering, and utterly unfair, just a
Yeah.
freak accident.
Completely unfair.
Mm-hmm.
But Admiral McRaven recounts that he never once heard Moki complain about his misfortune, never asked why me, never displayed an ounce of self-pity.
That's an incredible testament to his character, an almost superhuman level of acceptance. It makes you wonder how anyone finds that kind of inner fortitude.
It really does. In fact, after his accident, Moki, far from giving up or retreating,
Yeah.
he went on to become an accomplished painter using his limited arm movement. He fathered a beautiful young daughter, and he founded and continued to oversee the Super Frog Triathlon held every year in Coronado.
He founded a triathlon after being paralyzed.
Yes, his life became this powerful, living example of driving on despite monumental, soul-crushing unfairness.
It's just inspiring doesn't cover it. He became the embodiment of his own lesson. The Admiral uses him alongside historical figures like Helen Keller, Nelson Mandela, Stephen Hawking, Malala Yousafzai.
Giants who faced immense adversity.
Exactly. To illustrate how truly great individuals are often defined not by avoiding injustice, but by how they deal with life's unfairness.
So for our listeners, it's so easy to blame external forces, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get stuck in resentment when things inevitably go wrong or feel unjust.
It's the default reaction sometimes.
This lesson teaches us that our response to unfairness defines us far more than the unfairness itself. Sometimes, despite your absolute best efforts, you'll still end up a sugar cookie.
It's going to happen.
The key isn't to dwell on the injustice, to rail against it, but to accept what is, stand tall, look to the future, and drive on.
It's about recognizing what you cannot change and resolutely focusing on what you can. Your attitude, your effort, your next step.
What an incredible testament to Moki Martin's character, accepting life's unfairness and driving on. It almost makes me wonder, if you can navigate that kind of injustice, can you also turn outright failures into strengths?
That's the next logical step, isn't it?
Because Admiral McRaven's next lesson seems to tackle exactly that. If you want to change the world, don't be afraid of the circus.
The circus, again, sounds potentially fun, but not so much in BUDs.
The word circus usually conjures up images of fun and excitement, but in SEAL training, it was a deeply dreaded punishment. How did this feared punishment actually lead to something as counterintuitive as strength?
It truly is a profound paradox. The circus was held every single afternoon for those recruits who failed to meet the demanding physical standards of the day.
So if you messed up on a run or the obstacle course?
Or swims, calisthenics, anything. If you didn't meet the time or the standard, you were on the circus list.
And what did that mean? What was the punishment?
It meant 2 grueling hours of additional calisthenics. Push-ups, sit-ups, flutter kicks, runs, swims, just more of everything.
2 extra hours after an already brutal day.
Yes. Often under the relentless, non-stop harassment from combat veteran instructors who are absolutely determined to push you to your absolute limits. Find your breaking point.
Why was it so feared then? Because the physical pain.
Not just the immediate physical pain and exhaustion, though that was bad enough. It was feared for the insidious psychological toll.
Ah, the mental game.
Exactly. The exhaustion inevitably led to more failure the next day. You're tired, you underperform again, you're back at the circus. It created what many called a death spiral.
A death spiral. It sounds ominous.
It was. That constant failure, that feeling of never catching up, it caused a significant number of students to quit. They just couldn't break the cycle.
So it's actually designed to break you, to weed people out, but for some, it ended up forging something far stronger within them.
Precisely. It was a brutal test of mental fortitude. Who could endure failure and keep coming back?
What was the psychological impact of being in that death spiral, and how did some break free?
Well, Admiral McRaven and his swim buddy, Ensign Mark Thomas, they consistently struggled with swims. They were often, as he puts it, prominently on the circus list.
So they lived this experience.
Day after day, instructors would publicly call them out. Look at these officers, supposed to be leaders, can't even pass the swim, questioning their very presence.
Public humiliation on top of the physical exhaustion.
Exactly. They faced brutal punishments like those flutter kicks, lying on your back, legs extended, hands behind your head, alternating kicks without bending your knees.
No, those sound awful.
They are. An exercise specifically designed to inflict maximum abdominal pain and break your spirit. The psychological pressure of constant failure, knowing more was coming, was immense.
Yet, despite this constant failure and punishment, they didn't quit. What shifted? How did they break the cycle?
No, they didn't quit. And that's where the lesson truly emerges. Despite repeated circuses, something remarkable happened. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first.
Yeah.
Their swims got better, The punishment, the repeated exposure to failure, the sheer grind of fighting through the exhaustion, ironically, it made them stronger.
The extra work paid off.
It built endurance, both physical and mental. It made them faster, more confident in the water. They persevered, they adapted, they dug deeper than they thought possible.
So they turned the punishment into training.
In a way, yes. And as training was coming to an end, against all early predictions, they became the first pair to finish the final 5-mile open ocean swim.
The very first pair.
Yeah.
After all that struggle.
The first pair. A feat absolutely critical for graduation. The instructor, who had been so skeptical, even contemptuous.
The one calling them out.
Yeah, he finally shook their hands genuinely this time, saying he'd be honored to serve with them. They'd earned his respect through sheer perseverance.
That's a great story of overcoming adversity within training, turning perceived weakness into strength. But he also applies this lesson to a significant career setback he faced far from the training grounds.
He does, and it really shows its universal application.
Yeah.
In July 1983, McRaven was fired from his SEAL Squadron command.
Fired. That's huge for an officer.
Devastating. He was trying to implement changes, modernizations really, to a culture still deeply rooted in the Vietnam era, and it caused friction. He lost command.
So, a major professional failure.
Huge. His reputation was severely damaged. He describes being met with whispers, subtle reminders that he had failed. He found himself at a crossroads.
What were his options?
2 stark options. Quit the Navy, try civilian life, put it behind him, or weather the storm, learn from his experience, and prove himself all over again.
He chose the latter, obviously.
He chose the latter. He used that profound professional failure as a powerful, burning motivation. He resolved to outwork, outsustle, and outperform everyone at his next deployment.
Use the failure as fuel.
Exactly. Over time, through sheer determination and consistent excellence, he regained respect, eventually commanded his own SEAL team, and ultimately rose to command all SEALs on the West Coast.
That's a powerful example of turning a professional failure into a catalyst for immense growth and resilience. It really speaks to the idea that failure isn't the end.
But often a difficult, necessary part of the journey, if you let it be.
It shows that true leaders aren't just defined by their successes, are they?
Not at all. They're often defined by how they respond to their failures, how they pick themselves up. They learn from their mistakes, use those lessons to motivate themselves, and they aren't afraid to try again or to make the next tough decision.
They embrace the circus, in a way.
He realized that those past failures, those circuses, had strengthened him. They taught him that no one is immune from mistakes and that resilience is built through enduring them, not avoiding them.
So, for our listeners, we all face circuses in life. These could be career setbacks, personal disappointments, moments where you simply fall short.
They're unavoidable.
Don't avoid them. Don't fear the pain or the perceived humiliation of failure. Instead, let those failures teach you and strengthen you. Let them prepare you for even tougher moments ahead.
True leaders aren't defined by never failing,
but by how they rise after they fall, carrying the lessons learned into their next challenge. That's where the real growth happens. That's a crucial point about resilience, and it naturally leads into our next lesson. Taking risks is inherently scary, often paralyzing for many of us.
Absolutely. Our brains are kind of wired to avoid risk, right, for survival.
But Admiral McRaven urges us to dare greatly. If you want to change the world, slide down the obstacle head first. This isn't just about being reckless, is it? What does it truly mean to dare greatly in practical, actionable terms?
No, definitely not about recklessness. He's very clear on that. There's a crucial distinction between impulsive, ill-considered recklessness and calculated, thoughtful risk-taking.
Okay, calculated risk.
And the latter, calculated risk, is absolutely essential for growth, for innovation, for achieving anything significant. You have to step outside the comfort zone sometimes.
How does he illustrate this?
With the Slide for Life obstacle on the SEAL obstacle course, another classic BDS challenge. It was a 30-foot tower connected by a 100-foot rope stretching across a body of water.
30 feet up, 100 feet across. Sounds high?
It felt high. There were 2 ways to cross. The possum style, where you hung underneath the rope, slow but felt safer, more secure grip.
Okay, the safer.
And the commando style, where you went headfirst on top of the rope, much faster but far riskier, greater chance of losing your grip and falling into the water below.
Headfirst on top. Yeah, that sounds risky.
And initially, she, like many, played it safe, chose the possum style.
Took the slower, safer way.
He did. McRaven described struggling with it, losing valuable time on the timed course, constantly being behind the standard.
Frustrating.
Very. A grizzled Vietnam veteran instructor observed him one day, and with a tone that, McRaven says, bordered on contempt, told him bluntly,
What did he say this time?
"That obstacle course is going to beat you every time unless you start taking some risks." Just laid it out there.
Another dose of harsh reality.
Exactly. A week later, after much internal debate, McRaven pushed his fears aside, mounted the rope head first, commando style,
Took the plunge, so to speak.
and to his surprise and relief, completed the slide for life in a personal best time. Smashed his old record.
Ah. So the risk paid off immediately.
It did. It was a simple yet profoundly impactful lesson in overcoming anxieties and, crucially, trusting his own abilities to get the job done even when it felt dangerous. Trusting the training.
It's that leap of faith, isn't it? That moment where you decide to trust your training and your own capacity, even though fear is screaming at you.
Precisely. And he says that simple lesson served him well years later in a far more dangerous situation, illustrating the real-world stakes of daring greatly.
The hostage rescue mission in Iraq.
Indeed. He recounts a critical hostage rescue mission he oversaw in Iraq in 2004. Al-Qaeda terrorists were holding 3 hostages.
High stakes.
Extremely high. Intelligence indicated they were about to move them, demanding immediate action. Time was critical. All other tactical options, slower, safer approaches were analyzed and ruled out.
Why? Too slow.
Too slow. Little chance of success given the intel. The only way to succeed, the only viable option left on the table, was an incredibly dangerous daylight raid.
Daylight. That's against all conventional wisdom for a covert rescue mission. That seems like an enormous, almost unthinkable risk.
Extremely so. It defied almost every tactical doctrine. Night operations are universally preferred for the element of surprise and concealment.
Of course.
And this required 3 Black Hawk helicopters to land in the middle of a small walled compound.
Landing inside the compound walls.
Yes. The compound itself had an 8-foot-high brick wall. The massive 60-foot helicopter blades had mere inches to spare during landing.
Inches. The margin for error was tiny.
Almost zero. From overhead surveillance, McRaven watched with bated breath as the first helicopter flared and settled with incredible precision. The second landed a few feet away.
Okay, so far so good.
But as the third approached, a giant plume of dust kicked up by the first 2 rotors blinded the pilot momentarily. Its rear wheel clipped the wall.
Oh no, clipped the wall.
Clipped the wall. It was forced to the ground with a jarring thud. A hard landing.
But did it work? Were the hostages okay?
Yes. Despite the chaos, the hard landing, the incredibly high risk, the gamble paid off. All hostages were successfully rescued. Safe.
That's an incredible story of precision and courage under pressure, a true testament to calculated daring. It's almost like a real-life embodiment of that adage, fortune favors the bold.
It is. This was a high-risk mission, undoubtedly, but the risk was calculated, thoughtful, and meticulously planned. It wasn't reckless abandon.
There's the key difference.
It embodies the spirit of the British Special Air Service, SAS motto, "Who dares wins."
A famous motto.
And McRaven notes his command sergeant major even quoted that motto before the critical bin Laden raid years later. This wasn't just about how Special Forces units operate. It's a powerful principle about how each of us should thoughtfully approach significant challenges in our lives.
So for you, our listener, life is inherently a struggle, and failure is an ever-present possibility. We know that.
Can't avoid it.
But living in constant fear of failure, fear of hardship, or fear of embarrassment prevents you from truly achieving your potential.
It keeps you playing small.
Without pushing your limits, without occasionally sliding down that rope head first, without daring greatly when the moment calls for it, you will never truly know what is possible in your life.
It's about finding that crucial balance between caution and courage, and knowing when to take that calculated leap, not being paralyzed by the what-ifs.
That's a powerful call to action for finding that inner courage. And this next lesson sounds like something pulled straight from an action movie. But Admiral McRaven connects it to a much broader, universally applicable life principle. If you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks.
Yes, literal sharks this time.
How does this literal combat in the water translate to the metaphorical sharks, the bullies or overwhelming challenges we encounter in our everyday lives?
It's a profoundly powerful metaphor, and the real-world experience behind it is absolutely terrifying. He recounts the infamous 4-mile night swim off San Clemente Island.
Another swim.
Yeah.
These guys spend a lot of time in the water.
A huge part of SEAL training. The water off San Clemente was choppy, bitterly cold, and cloaked in an inky darkness that was almost suffocating. Pitch black.
Sounds miserable.
More unnervingly, it was a known breeding ground for great white sharks. And other large sharks, too.
Great whites. Seriously, they swam in great white territory at night.
Yes, that was part of the test. Before the swim, instructors would brief them on all the shark species indigenous to the area,
Give them one down.
often adding a chilling assurance like, don't worry, no trainee has been eaten recently.
Oh, that's reassuring.
Right. But the key instruction was chillingly specific and designed to instill both fear and a strategy for courage. If a shark circles you, stand your ground, don't panic, don't swim away frantically, hold your position.
Stand your ground. Easier said than done when a great white is circling you.
Absolutely. And then, if it darts directly at you, punch it squarely in the snout with all your might.
Punch a shark in the nose.
That was the instruction. Aim for the sensitive snout. It might be enough to deter it.
That takes immense, almost primal courage just to contemplate, let alone execute, especially alone in the dark, cold ocean. It's facing your absolute worst fear head on.
It truly does. And what gave them that courage? The deeply ingrained goal of becoming a SEAL. A profoundly held purpose. That greater goal overrode the immediate fear.
The why.
Exactly. And courage, the Admiral emphasizes, is a remarkable and essential human quality. Without it, he argues, others will define your path. You'll be at the mercy of life's temptations, life's bullies. And no great society can truly flourish without courageous individuals.
And with courage.
With courage, you can accomplish any goal you set your mind to, and you can, crucially, defy evil in its many forms.
And he brings this lesson directly to his experience with one of the most infamous real-world bullies in recent history, Saddam Hussein. That's a direct, visceral connection to his lesson.
Yes. A very clear example of facing a shark. The Admiral describes observing Saddam Hussein after his capture, dressed in an orange jumpsuit, sitting defiantly on an army cot.
Just captured, but still defiant.
Completely. When the new Iraqi government leaders entered the room, intending to assert their authority, Saddam simply smirked. And even from behind bars, he managed to intimidate them.
Ow.
They yelled at him from a safe distance. They were still palpably terrified of the Butcher of Baghdad, a man who had terrorized an entire nation for decades.
The fear was still there.
His cult of personality, built on fear and murderous thugs, had instilled deep, paralyzing fear that lingered even after his downfall. He still radiated that menace.
So even in captivity, stripped of all outward power, Saddam still managed to project an aura of intimidation and control. That's a testament to the power of a bully, but also to how deeply fear can be ingrained.
He absolutely did. The meeting, intended to decisively show Saddam that he was no longer in power, utterly failed. If anything, McRaven says, Saddam seemed more confident, more powerful than ever after that encounter.
So what did McRaven do?
He changed tactics, realized direct confrontation wasn't working against that kind of ingrained persona. He instructed his guards to isolate Saddam in a small room, no visitors. And critically, no talking to him, just professional silence.
Isolate and ignore.
Essentially, McRaven himself visited daily. Each day, Saddam would defiantly rise to greet him, trying to assert some status. And each day, without speaking a single word, McRaven would just motion him firmly back to his cot.
A nonverbal power dynamic shift.
Exactly. The message, delivered through consistent, calm assertion, was clear. Saddam was no longer important. He could no longer intimidate or instill fear through his presence or his words. His power, built on fear, was gone when people refused to fear him.
Dismantled by courageous American soldiers who simply, steadfastly, stood up to his tyranny, refused to play his game.
Stood their ground. Didn't back down from the shark.
That's a brilliant demonstration of how standing your ground, even silently and persistently, can dismantle a bully's power. It's about denying them the fear they feed on.
It truly is. Bullies are fundamentally all the same, whether they manifest as a schoolyard tormentor, a manipulative colleague in the workplace, or a dictator ruling a country through terror.
The dynamic is similar.
They thrive on fear and intimidation. They gain strength through the timid and those who back down. They are like those sharks that sense fear in the water. They'll circle, they'll probe for weakness.
And if they sense fear,
if you don't find the courage to stand your ground, to meet their gaze, metaphorically or literally, they will strike.
So for our listener, this means digging deep to find that courage that resides within all of us.
It's in there. You have to be a person of great courage to achieve your goals. to complete your own night swings in life, and to face down your personal sharks, whatever they may be. Don't let them define your path.
That's an inspiring call to courage. And speaking of courage in the face of daunting odds, dark moments are an inevitable, unavoidable part of everyone's journey. We've touched on this before.
Yes, life guarantees dark moments.
So when everything feels lost, when hope seems distant, how do we find that very best within ourselves? Admiral McRaven's 8th lesson tells us, if you want to change the world, be your very best in the darkest moments.
This lesson profoundly speaks to how true character, genuine leadership, and inner strength are revealed, not when things are easy, but under the greatest pressure, especially when light and hope are scarce, when the path forward is completely obscured.
How does he illustrate this one? Another training story.
Yes, the culmination of the dive phase in SEAL training, an incredibly challenging mission.
What do they have to do?
Swim 2,000 meters underwater across San Diego Bay to a target vessel, place a practice limpet mine on its hull.
Underwater navigation. At night, presumably.
At night, all while using what was ominously known as the death rig.
The death rig. Why was it called that?
It was the Emerson closed-circuit diving apparatus, rebreather technology. Notorious for its frequent malfunctions and temperamental nature, it could fail without warning.
So equipment failure was a real, constant risk, on top of everything else.
A deadly risk. And the conditions for this mission sound absolutely terrifying, too. It wasn't just the equipment.
Worse than the shark swim.
Different kind of terror. It was night. Zero visibility beneath the surface. Just blackness. Fog was rolling in thick above.
Making navigation impossible.
Incredibly difficult to get a compass bearing. And the constant terrifying risk of drifting into dangerous shipping channels where you could literally be run over by a massive vessel without anyone ever knowing.
Just vanish.
As the instructor ominously warned them before they went in, tonight is so dark that you can get disoriented. So dark that if you get separated from your swim buddy, he will not be able to find you.
Chilling. Separation meant you were truly alone.
Even the instructors themselves admitted to being nervous about this one, but then came the powerful words that cut through the tension.
What did the instructor say?
Tonight we find out which of you sailors really want to be frogmen. Tonight you will have to be your very best. You must rise above your fears, your doubts, and your fatigue. No matter how dark it gets, you must complete the mission. This is what separates you from everyone else.
Wow. A direct challenge to find their peak performance right when everything is against them.
Exactly. Perform when it's hardest. McRaven says those words stayed with him for 30 years, a true test of leadership and self-reliance in the absolute darkest moment.
He then connects this idea, movingly, to the solemn yet profoundly moving ramp ceremonies he witnessed in Afghanistan. What was it about those ceremonies that brought this lesson home in a different context?
There were truly solemn yet profoundly inspiring aspects of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. A C-17 aircraft would be prepared on the tarmac to receive the remains of a fallen warrior.
The very difficult duty.
Very. 2 parallel lines of silent soldiers would form an honor guard. A 3-piece band would softly play Amazing Grace. Hundreds of others would gather, often in the dead of night, bundled against the cold, just to pay their respects.
A community gathering in grief.
Yes. A Hucko MVE would carefully carry the flag-draped casket. Pallbearers from the Fallen Warriors unit would march it onto the plane with incredible dignity. A pastor would read from Isaiah 6:8.
The "Here I am, send me" passage.
Whom shall I send and who will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me. Then taps would play. Tears would flow freely. Individuals, one by one, would step forward, salute sharply, maybe kneel for a moment.
It sounds like an incredibly dignified and powerful moment, a collective expression of grief and honor, especially in such a dark place, the middle of a war zone.
It was America at its finest, he says, showing incredible dignity, honor, and unity in recognizing profound sacrifice. And he observed how, in those darkest moments of profound loss,
When grief could overwhelm.
whether it was an Army Special Operator's twin brother comforting grieving friends and holding his family together, or the entire town of Savannah turning out spontaneously to line the streets in honor of fallen ranger returning home, or airmen from a crashed CV-22 unit bravely flying the very next day, continuing the mission despite their loss, or a nation mourning but collectively taking immense pride in the courage of its fallen warriors.
In all those cases,
People consistently came together to be their very best. They rose to the occasion. They found strength, composure, and a renewed sense of purpose, even amid unimaginable grief and despair. They showed up.
so for you, our listener, this means that you will confront dark moments in life. It's guaranteed.
Whether it's the sudden passing of a loved one, a crushing professional setback that shakes your confidence to the core, or something that completely shatters your spirit.
Those are the times, the critical defining times, to reach deep inside yourself and be your absolute very best.
It's about being calm when chaos reigns, being composed, bringing all your accumulated skills, all your inner strength, everything you've learned to bear.
Showing yourself and others what you are truly made of when the lights go out and everything seems lost. That's when character is truly revealed.
That's the essence of it. Be your best when it matters most.
That's a powerful message for finding strength when everything feels lost. But in the absolute worst situations, how does one find the strength not just to persevere, but to actively give hope? To start singing when you're up to your neck in mud, as Admiral McRaven puts it.
Right. That sounds almost impossible, singing in the mud.
This sounds like an almost superhuman feat, a choice that defies all logic when you're miserable.
It does, but this lesson reveals that hope isn't just a passive emotion you wait for. It's an active, defiant force. And often it's sparked by one individual's unexpected, courageous act.
How does he illustrate this? More BUDS misery.
Oh yes, peak BUDS misery, Hell Week. Specifically, a notorious Wednesday during Hell Week spent at the Tijuana Mudflats.
The mudflat sounds delightful.
Anything but. They were literally chest-deep in cold, disgusting mud. Covered in grime, bone-chilling cold, with a high wind howling off the Pacific. No moon, low clouds, utter darkness and misery.
And this was after how long with no sleep?
This was Wednesday of Hell Week, so maybe 4 days by then, with virtually zero sleep and just unrelenting physical and psychological harassment. Morale among the recruits was, understandably, plummeting into deep despair.
Ready to break.
Absolutely. And an instructor actually used this despair, this profound suffering, as a tactic to break them, didn't he? To tempt them with an easy way out.
What did the instructor do?
Yes, precisely. The instructor, his voice surprisingly soft and almost kind over a bullhorn, offered comfort. He described a roaring fire nearby, hot coffee, delicious chicken soup waiting for them.
A temptation.
Pure temptation. All they needed, he said, was for just 5 men to quit. If 5 rang the bell, everyone could get out of the mud and have the soup and warmth.
Putting pressure on the group if only 5 quit.
Exactly. Collective pressure. One student, clearly on the verge of giving up, shivering uncontrollably, started to slowly, painfully move toward the dry ground in the promise of warmth and comfort. The instructor was smiling, McRaven remembers, knowing that once one man quit, others would almost certainly follow, like dominoes falling.
The first crack in the dam.
Yes, and that's when the singing started, defying the instructor's expectation, defying the misery.
Who started singing?
Suddenly, piercing above the howl of the wind and the collective groans of exhaustion, one tired, raspy voice began to sing, a defiant, slightly off-key, but utterly resolute song.
Just one guy.
Just one voice at first, then it became 2, then 3, until everyone, or nearly everyone still physically able to make a sound, was singing together.
What happened to the guy who was quitting?
He stopped, turned back, looped his arm around a classmate for support, and joined in the singing.
Wow. The singing pulled him back.
It did. The instructor, furious now because his tactic failed, threatened them with more time, even more intense discomfort in the mud if they didn't shut up. But the singing persisted. It grew louder, more unified.
They defied him.
In that moment, McRaven says, the mud seemed to grow warmer. The wind didn't feel as cutting. Dawn felt suddenly closer. This showed the profound, almost magical power of one person to unite, to inspire, and to give hope in the darkest of circumstances. One voice changed the dynamic.
That's an incredible story of collective resilience ignited by a single defiant act. He also shares a heartbreaking story about this, involving Marine Lieutenant General John Kelly, connecting this principle to real-world tragedy.
A truly poignant and unforgettable example. It happened at Dover Air Force Base, the solemn site where fallen service members returned to U.S. soil.
Okay.
Grieving families had gathered after a helicopter crash in Afghanistan, tragically killed 38 men, SEALs, Afghan partners, Army aviators. A huge loss.
Devastating.
The president was there, the Secretary of Defense, numerous military leaders, all paying respects. But Admiral McRaven recounts struggling desperately for words of solace, feeling the inadequacy of any platitudes in the face of such raw grief. What can you possibly say?
An impossible situation.
Then he observed Marine Lieutenant General John Kelly, tall, lean, in an immaculate uniform, moving with purpose and profound empathy through the crowd of families.
What was Kelly doing?
connecting with every single family present. Not rushing, he smiled gently, hugged tightly, grasped hands firmly, and his words, simple yet incredibly powerful, resonated with profound understanding, compassion, and somehow, hope.
Why was it that Kelly, specifically, could make such a difference where others, even the president, seemed to struggle for words? What was his unique insight?
Only John Kelly, in that moment, McRaven felt, could have made that profound difference, because only John Kelly knew, intimately and tragically, what it was like to lose a son in combat.
Ah, his own son.
His own son, Marine First Lieutenant Robert Kelly, had been killed in Afghanistan in 2010. He had endured that unimaginable loss himself. He had survived through the raw pain, the searing heartache, the inconsolable grief.
He understood their pain on a level no one else there could.
Exactly. As McRaven watched him that day, Kelly didn't just offer condolences. He gave strength to everyone. He inspired a profound sense of hope that even in the very worst of times, in the deepest mud, we can rise above the pain, the disappointment, the agony. We can be strong, we can carry on, and we can inspire others to do the same. He was living proof.
So this is a call to action for us all, isn't it? We will all inevitably find ourselves neck-deep in mud someday.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, hopefully.
Actually, metaphorically, yes.
That's the critical, defining time to sing loudly, to smile broadly, or whatever your equivalent is, to deliberately lift up those around you, even when you feel like crumbling yourself.
Hope, he concludes, is indeed the most powerful force in the universe. Stronger than fear, stronger than doubt.
And one person can change the world, or at least their corner of it, by choosing to give people hope. It's not a passive feeling. It's a deliberate, defiant choice to light a flame in the darkness.
A conscious act of leadership and humanity.
We've arrived at the ultimate lesson, the 10th one, the one that underpins all others in SEAL training, and perhaps in life itself. Never, ever quit.
The big one. The core of the ethos.
Admiral McRaven distills this into a simple, uncompromising command. If you want to change the world, don't ever, ever ring the bell.
That bell. Such a potent symbol.
What does never quit truly mean when faced with overwhelming, demoralizing odds, when every fiber of your being screams to give up? When quitting seems like the only sane option?
This lesson speaks to the insidious allure of quitting, because quitting often does present itself as the easier, more rational path in the short term. It promises immediate relief from pain and struggle.
The escape hatch.
Exactly. However, its long-term cost is almost always profound regret and unfulfilled potential. In the very center of the SEAL training compound, the BUDS grinder, there hangs a brass bell, polished brass.
Visible to everyone.
Highly visible. All you have to do to immediately escape the misery is walk up to it and ring it 3 times.
3 rings and you're out.
3 rings and you're done, instantly. You avoid the brutal early mornings, the bone-chilling cold swims, the torturous obstacle courses, the constant relentless pain, the yelling. It all stops.
It's the ultimate escape clause from misery, a constant, tangible temptation sitting right there.
Always there, gleaming. And the instructors didn't shy away from emphasizing the consequences of giving in.
What did they say about it?
They would drive this point home with chilling clarity, saying things like, if you quit, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Quitting never makes anything easier in the long run.
Oh, warning about lifelong regret.
Yes, and the numbers speak for themselves. Out of 150 students who started McRaven's SEAL class, only 33 graduated.
Only 33 out of 150. That's a brutal attrition rate.
Brutal. The rest, confronted with their perceived limits and the tempting promise of relief, rang the bell.
They chose the immediate escape.
Life, the Admiral notes, constantly presents situations where quitting seems rational, where the odds are so stacked against you that giving up truly feels like the only sensible, logical thing to do. This lesson is about pushing past those perceived limits, about redefining what you thought was possible for yourself.
Finding strength you didn't know you had.
Yes, he shares a profoundly moving story of a young Army Ranger, Adam Bates, that truly embodies this principle of refusing to quit, even in the face of absolute devastation.
Tell us about Ranger Bates.
McRaven visited him in a combat hospital in Afghanistan. Bates was just 19 years old.
So young.
On his very first mission, just a week after arriving in country, he stepped on a pressure plate mine. Lost both his legs instantly.
Oh, horrific. Both legs gone.
Riddled with blast burns, tubes extending from his mouth and chest, just completely wrecked. McRaven, visiting him, expected him to be unconscious, sedated.
Understandably.
But the nurse told him Bates was actually conscious, lucid, and that he knew sign language because his mother was deaf.
Okay.
So McRaven approaches the bed, Bates, his face swollen, eyes barely visible through bandages, senses the pity in McRaven's expression. He can feel it.
And what Bates signed to him in that moment of profound personal wreckage? It must have been an incredibly powerful, almost defiant statement.
It was unforgettable. Bates slowly, painfully, with immense effort, raised his bandaged hand and signed, with absolute clarity, "I will be okay."
I will be okay after losing both legs.
I will be okay. And then, completely exhausted by the effort, he fell back asleep.
Wow, that single moment, McRaven says, personified the indomitable spirit of so many warriors and indeed so many human beings who refuse to quit, refuse to feel sorry for themselves, choose to fight on no matter what.
What happened to Ranger Bates after that? Did he truly live up to that powerful promise he made with his hands?
A year later, McRaven saw Ranger Bates again at a change of command ceremony stateside.
He was impeccably sharp in his Army dress uniform, standing tall and proud on new prosthetic legs, laughing, joking with his buddies, and even challenging others to a pull-up contest.
A pull-up contest?
Yeah.
That's amazing. He was okay?
He had endured multiple agonizing surgeries, relentless, painful rehabilitation, adjusted to a completely new life. And just as he promised, he was okay. He never quit. He refused to ring the bell on his own future.
That's an astonishing display of resilience and determination, truly illustrating that commitment to never give up, no matter how dire things seem.
It is. The story reminds us that life is absolutely full of difficult, heartbreaking times, but someone always, always has it worse than you do. Always.
Perspective is key.
If you choose to fill your days with self-pity, blaming circumstances or others for your misfortunes, life will inevitably be long and hard. A grind.
But the alternative?
If, however, you refuse to give up on your dreams, if you choose to stand tall and strong against the overwhelming odds, then life will become what you make of it. And you can make it truly great.
Never, ever ring the bell.
That's the bottom line. It's the ultimate call to action for every one of us facing any challenge, big or small. A testament to the boundless power of the human spirit when it refuses to break.
That brings us to a truly inspiring conclusion to these 10 lessons. Admiral McRaven's book, Make Your Bed, as we mentioned, is famously based on his University of Texas commencement speech.
The one that went viral?
Exactly. Where he so eloquently tied these 10 intense lessons, forged in the crucible of SEAL training, into a profound message for college graduates about to start their lives. What was the essence of his message to them and ultimately to us?
He just seamlessly connected these rigorous military principles to civilian life. He showed their universal applicability not just for achieving personal success, but for actively shaping the very fabric of the world itself.
How did he frame that?
Well, the University of Texas's slogan is, "What starts here changes the world." A pretty bold claim.
It is.
And he challenged the graduates to take that slogan literally, to embody it. He posited this amazing idea: if every one of them graduating that day simply changed the lives of just 10 people for the better.
Just 10 people each. Seems manageable.
Right. And if each of those 10, in turn, changed another 10, and so on, then within 5 generations, roughly 125 years, the class of 2014 alone could realistically change the lives of 800 million people.
800 million. From just 10 people each, compounding.
That's the power of the ripple effect. Go one more generation, he said, and you could impact the entire population of the world at that time. Billions.
That's an astounding ripple effect, an almost unimaginable scale of impact, simply from a sequence of individual actions. It really puts the responsibility and the potential on each person.
It does. It underscores the profound power of individual decisions and actions. He reinforced this with poignant military examples too, bringing it back to his world.
Like what?
Like a young Army officer making a split-second decision to go left instead of right during a patrol, thereby saving his entire squad from a devastating ambush that lay waiting on the other path.
One decision saved a dozen lives.
Or a sharp non-commissioned officer from a female engagement team noticing something amiss, a disturbed patch of earth, averting an improvised explosive device, saving maybe a dozen soldiers from certain harm.
Again, one observation, huge consequences.
And he emphasized that in these instances, not only were those immediate soldiers saved, but potentially entire generations yet unborn were also saved. The children they would have had, the grandchildren.
Wow, the ripple effect across generations.
One decision, one person's courage, one person's attention to detail can truly have an unimaginable exponential impact. It matters.
And the unifying message that these lessons apply to everyone, regardless of their background, that's crucial too, isn't it? It democratizes the path to impact.
Absolutely. He made it explicitly clear it matters not your gender, your ethnic or religious background, your orientation, your social status. None of that matters when it comes to these core principles.
Because the struggles are universal.
Our struggles in this world are fundamentally similar, and the lessons to overcome those struggles and to move forward, changing ourselves and, by extension, the world around us, will apply equally and powerfully to all. He then briefly recapped each of the 10 lessons, bringing it all together into this cohesive, actionable philosophy for living.
So to briefly reinforce that powerful recap for everyone listening, it all starts with cultivating personal discipline, maybe by making your bed, to build that daily momentum.
That first task completed.
Then recognizing you can't go it alone, finding someone to help you paddle, building your boat crew.
Teamwork and support.
Always looking past superficial traits to measure a person by the size of their heart.
Seeing the potential within.
Accepting that life isn't fair, getting over being a sugar cookie, and relentlessly moving forward.
Drive on, don't dwell.
Not being afraid of the circus of failure, because those tough moments will ultimately make you stronger if you let them.
Embrace the lessons of failure.
Having the courage to dare greatly by sliding down the obstacle head first. Embracing calculated risks when necessary.
Calculated risks, not recklessness.
Standing up to the bullies,
Yeah.
the sharks in your life, whatever form they take, refusing to be intimidated.
Find your courage.
Rising to the occasion and being your very best in the darkest, most challenging moments.
Perform under pressure.
Finding the inner strength to give people hope even when you're up to your neck in mud.
Start singing.
Be the source of hope.
And finally, the ultimate, unwavering commitment. Never, ever ringing that bell and quitting.
Never give up.
He truly reinforces how each of these principles contributes not just to surviving, but to thriving, and ultimately to changing yourself and the world for the better.
His concluding thought to those graduates, and now really to us, was this truly resonant call to action. If you do these things, he said,
then the next generation and the generations that follow will live in a world far better than the one we have today. And what started here will indeed have changed the world for the better.
It's a powerful testament, isn't it? An urgent invitation for every individual to take profound personal responsibility for their own journey, and, in doing so, to consciously contribute to something much larger and more enduring than themselves.
It really puts the power and the responsibility right back in your hands. Hashtag #SteelTro.
What an incredible journey we've taken today, deep diving into the rigorous, often brutal world of Navy SEAL training.
Definitely not for the faint of heart.
And uncovering how its core principles, discipline, teamwork, courage, resilience, and hope are not just for elite warriors, but truly for every single one of us.
They translate surprisingly well, don't they?
This deep dive has shown us that these aren't just military tactics, they are incredibly adaptable, universal life strategies. They empower you, no matter your personal path or professional calling.
It's really about the mindset, isn't it?
It's truly about the mindset you bring to your day, how you approach your challenges, and maybe just as importantly, the quality of your relationships, your boat crew.
So reflecting on all this raises an important question for you, our listener. Considering all these profound lessons, these insights pulled from the most challenging of environments.
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
What is one small task you can commit to starting tomorrow, just one thing, that will create that first ripple in your own life?
That first domino.
How might that seemingly insignificant act, whether it's simply making your bed with real intent or courageously reaching out for help when you need it, or defiantly refusing to let a small failure define you?
Or maybe daring to slide headfirst.
Or daring greatly, yes. How might that one small act be the very beginning of you changing your personal world and perhaps even the world around you?
It starts small.
The power, as Admiral McRaven so powerfully illustrates, truly lies in your hands. It starts with that one decision not to ring the bell, to embrace the circus, or simply, profoundly, to make your bed.